They called her, Toolbox, at the outpost, a quiet girl with grease on her collar and a wrench always in hand. She wasn't enlisted as a fighter, she wasn't trained as infantry or armor, she was the mechanic who checked oil lines on armored beasts, tightened bolts on war-worn tracks, and wiped engine heat from her brow while soldiers bragged about battles they thought she'd never understand. Her real name was Elena Carter, but few bothered to say it. She arrived months earlier, sent to maintain aging armored vehicles in a remote conflict zone, a border region suddenly heating up with hostile patrols, ambush rumors, and tension thick enough to chew. The base sat low in a valley surrounded by hills that held secrets, enemy scouts watching every move, waiting to pounce. The men joked in the mess hall that Elena knew machines better than people. She let them talk, smiled politely, and went back to her work. She didn't tell them she came from a family of tank crew veterans. She didn't tell them she'd trained in simulators since childhood, learned to strip engines blindfolded, memorized the rumble of diesels like lullabies. She didn't tell them she had once applied for tank school and been laughed out of the exam office by someone who thought she wasn't built for combat. She knew her worth, but she didn't need them to. She only needed her hands and her mind, and the broken steel in front of her. In the yard, the old main battle tank everyone dismissed sat hulking and silent, riddled with electrical faults and hydroline leaks, a relic to some, a burden to others. To Elena it was a sleeping giant that only needed someone to believe in it. Each evening after the soldiers trained with rifles and practiced battlefield drills, Elena crawled under the tank chassis with a flashlight clenched between her teeth. She whispered to the machine like a loyal friend. The commander, Captain Briggs, occasionally passed by shaking his head. "You're wasting time, Toolbox. That old thing won't ever see combat again. We have drones for a reason." She just nodded. "Machines don't die, sir, people give up on them." And she kept working. Then came dawn. On the day everything changed, the sky still purple. Alarms blared across the base. Enemy armored vehicles spotted on the ridge. Infantry units advancing, a coordinated strike, the kind designed to cripple a position before sunrise. The camp shook from mortar impact. Sandbags erupted. Soldiers scrambled to positions, shouting orders. The incoming roar of enemy armor echoed like thunder across Steel Valley walls. "Where's the armor support?" someone yelled. "Our APCs can't hold a frontal line. We need the tank." But the tank was dead, or so they thought. The gunners manned heavy turrets, the infantry spread into trenches. Captain Briggs barked commands, but his face revealed panic. The enemy was moving fast. Tanks rolled toward the valley, barrels glinting in dawn light. Elena stood in the smoke-filled motor bay staring at the silent machine. Her heart beat slow but strong. She knelt one last time, reached under the panel, rerouted wires she'd mapped in her mind 100 times, tightened a fuel valve, whispered, "Wake up," and then climbed into the commander hatch. Her fingers shook. Only once, before settling into instinct, she pressed ignition. The engine coughed once, twice, then the base ground shook as the massive diesel roared to life. A mechanic in coveralls now sat at the helm of 60 tons of steel. Soldiers froze mid-run, heads turned, jaws dropped. The impossible had happened. Elena's voice crackled through internal comms of the tank she'd quietly repaired. "Tracks engaging." She put her gloved hand on the controls. "Let's go." With no formal order, with no one believing she would move, she rolled forward. Tracks bit into earth. The gates shook open and the forgotten tank surged into dawn fire. Captain Briggs stared. "Who's driving that tank?" A soldier laughed, not out of humor but disbelief. "Toolbox." The battlefield stretched open and brutal enemy armor locked in. Their gunners rotated turrets toward the lone tank, charging toward them like a steel comet. Elena gripped controls with steady hands. The wind screamed across turret plates. The radio buzzed with panicked voices telling her to stop, come back, don't do it. But she didn't hear fear, she heard purpose. Incoming shell. She jerked controls. The tank slid behind debris. The ground exploded behind her. Shrapnel whistled past her hatch. Her breath fogged the sight lenses. She cracked a half smile. "Nice try." She swung the targeting reticle chest-tight focus sharp enemy tank in crosshair fire. The cannon hammered, the round flew through a hostile vehicle, erupted in sparks and smoke. Soldiers on the ridge paused, stunned. Elena reloaded, hydraulics whirring. Next. Behind her at the base, stunned troops felt hope lift like heat through frozen air. Get me radio contact with her now. The captain yelled, but Elena didn't answer comms. She only answered the battlefield. The enemy advanced. She charged harder. Tank shells roared, machine guns rattled, bullets pinged like angry hail against armor. Small arms fire licked the hull, but the beast held. Elena's breath became instinct, her movements machine precise. She reversed to flank, she surged forward again. Another enemy tank locked target. She cut hard left, fired smoke and vanished in white fog. The shot missed. She emerged on their weak right, armor fired again. Flames burst. Sweat stung her eyes, her braid stuck to her neck. Her body trembled from recoil shock, but she fought like someone born for steel war. Infantry pinned near ridge saw a miracle in motion. Is that mechanic insane? One cried. The sergeant answered, no, she's saving your life. Get up and push forward. Adrenaline surged through ranks. They advanced, their morale no longer cracked but forged stronger. Elena swung gun turret to cover them, laying suppressive fire. Soldiers sprinted, shouting louder than fear. The enemy faltered, tanks burned, trucks overturned, smoke trailed like black ribbons in the morning wind. An enemy anti-armor unit deployed, rocket launchers targeting her from high ground. Elena saw the glint. She accelerated, climbing rubble, ignoring warnings from cracking suspension. She aimed turret and fired again. Higher ground burst open, enemy missiles fell silent. Her tank took a hit, shrapnel tore side armor, sparks showered her seat, pain lanced her shoulder. She hissed, wiped blood, kept going. The machine groaned, but she spoke steady, stay with me. Then the last enemy armor unit retreated, engines howling into hills. Soldiers on Elena's side erupted in cheers, disbelief, awe. They surged forward, securing ground reclaimed from what was supposed to be certain defeat. Elena exhaled slow, the engine hummed low. Her hands finally shook, a tear slid down her cheek, not from pain but release. She guided the tank back toward base, slow, steady, victorious, dust trailing like a flag of honor. The gates opened, troops lined path, silent at first, then slowly clapping, boots stomped, rifles raised in salute. Someone whispered, she just saved all of us. Elena stopped, engine climbed out, covered in soot, blood, grease, helmet dented, brow cut, eyes fierce yet soft. She looked at Captain Briggs, expecting reprimand. Instead he stood in shocked silence before stepping forward, saluting her. Carter, you just turned the tide of battle. You belong in the commander's seat of that machine, not behind a toolbox. Elena didn't smile in triumph, she only looked at the tank. She woke from death. Machines don't fail, sir. People fail to trust them, and sometimes people fail to see what someone's capable of until it's too late. Briggs nodded. Not anymore. Soldiers surrounded her, not with doubt but respect. No more whispers, no more jokes. The mechanic who became a warrior, the woman who fixed a tank and then drove it into fire when everyone else believed she couldn't. She walked back to the tank, laid her hand on steel, whispering again, rest now, we did it. The metal still warm beneath her palm felt almost alive. War would not end that day, but neither would the legend of the girl who turned a forgotten machine into salvation, who reminded hardened fighters that heroes come from unexpected places and courage doesn't always wear rank or reputation. Sometimes it wears grease-stained sleeves and learns engines before battlefields, but when the hour comes when no one else stands, that person rises, drives forward and changes everything forever.